Good morning, everyone. This is your English class, and today we are going to study our next chapter, chapter number 6 of our grammar book, verbs we are going to study. Okay, so let's start. Let's read and understand. Defining a verb. A verb denotes an action or being or possession. The guard showed the green flag, that is action. Jaya hit the ball hard, action. Madhu is intelligent, being. Dickens was a great storyteller, being. I have a beautiful diary, possession. A cow has four legs, possession. So, dear student, here we have to understand what are the verbs. So, dear students, verbs means which word shows any action, any being, any possession. So, those words we can say that those words are action words, like, or we can say that those words are verbs. Okay, suppose I say that Mohit is dancing. Mohit is dancing. So in this, I'm telling that Mohit is doing an action and that is dancing. And if I say that Mohit is a shopkeeper, Mohit is a shopkeeper. So in this, I'm telling what is Mohit. So I'm telling being, I'm telling the meaning of be. And if I like say that Mohit has a shop, Mohit has a shop. So in this sentence, I'm telling that Mohit has a possession on a shop. Okay. So three things you need to remember, that action, being, and possession. By which word we get this type of sense? Those words are called verbs. Okay. Action, being, and possession. Possession means have. Okay. Ownership we get. Now, next thing we have to understand transitive, intransitive, and incomplete verbs. So our verbs are divided into three parts. First is called transitive, second is called intransitive, and third is called incomplete verbs. So when we use any verb and that verb needs an object, so it means that verb is transitive. When we use any verb and that verb does not need any object, that verb is intransitive. Okay, let's understand this point with some examples. Here it's written, a verb that requires an object to complete its meaning is called a transitive verb. The patient needs medicine. Medicine is object of the verb needs, as the object is necessary to complete the meaning of the patient needs. Okay. So whenever we say any sentence and in that sentence verb needs any object, so that verb is called transitive verb, right? Suppose that I say that Sachin plays. So there is a need of using an object. I need to say that Sachin plays cricket. Okay. Now next understand about intransitive verb. A verb that does not require an object to complete its meaning, but it has a complete meaning by itself is called an intransitive verb. Which verb does not need any object? That verb is called intransitive. One example is written here. The child smiled. There is no need to put any object, right? If I say the child ate, we need to mention that name, that food name, or that food. The child ate the burger. Okay. If I say that the child smiled, the child laughed, so the child danced. So there is no need to put any object. That is completed itself. So when we have to use any object after the verb, that verb is called transitive. When there is no need to use any object after the verb, that verb is called intransitive. Okay. Now third, we have to understand about incomplete verbs. Verbs like be forms like is, am, are, was, were, will be, shall be, etc. Become, appear, see, look are incomplete verbs. They need complement to complete their meaning, like the teacher is intelligent. So dear students, in English language many verbs are here. Those verbs are called incomplete. Actually there is no action in those verbs. उन verbs में कोई action नहीं होता. Suppose I say that I am a teacher. So I'm not showing any action in this sentence. मैं कोई action नहीं कर रहा हूँ, कोई काम नहीं कर रहा हूँ. If I say that I am teaching English, so I am doing any action. But if I say that you are a student, so in this sentence you are not doing any action, right? So in which verb we do not show any action, so those verbs are called incomplete verbs. And after that we have to use something. We can't use those verbs without any word, so we need to use after that those verbs, we need to use some words. Those words are called complements but not objects. Like the teacher is an incomplete verb. We need to use something to complete this sentence. We need to say that the teacher is intelligent. So this intelligent word is not an object. This is called complement. Which word comes after the incomplete verb? Those words are called complements. Complement means पूरा करने वाले, sentence को पूरा करने वाला part या words. The teacher is intelligent. The word intelligent is needed to complete the meaning of the teacher is, right? So basically, dear students, we have understood three types of verbs are there: transitive, intransitive, and incomplete. Transitive when there is a need of any object after the verb. Intransitive when there is a no need to put any object after the verb. Incomplete when there is a no action in the verbs. Okay, so those verbs are called incomplete. After that, we have to put complements, not objects. Right, now let's understand about direct and indirect objects. Transitive verbs can have two types of objects: direct object and indirect object. So dear students, we are we use in sentence direct object and indirect object. Means directs are means objects are two types. One is called direct object, second is called indirect object. Let's read what's written here. Transitive verbs can have two types of objects. One is called direct object, second is called indirect object. Direct object, a noun or a pronoun that directly receives the action denoted by a verb in a sentence is called direct object. So dear student, first of all, we should understand what is object. So object means which word receives the action of receive the impact of the action. That verb is called direct. That word is called direct, right? Means direct object or object. Suppose I say that I teach English. So I subject, teach verb, and on what work, on what thing I do the work, that is English. English is the word which is receiving the impact of action. Okay, suppose I say that I eat pizza. So pizza is an object in this sentence. Usually object comes after the verb, right? So here we have to understand two types of objects are there. One is called direct object. So non-living things are called direct object. Secondly, if we put the question with what, so what answer we get, that answer is called direct object. Suppose I say that I teach English. I teach English. And I make the question with the help of what? Suppose I say that what do I teach? What do I teach? I teach English. So we have got the answer English. So English is here direct object. Okay. Now let's talk about indirect object. A noun or pronoun that receives the direct object or affected by it and is called indirect object. Indirect object is normally placed before the direct object. Firstly, direct object comes, then indirect objects come. Okay, usually it happens. The direct object answers the question what. For example, like Mr. Hussain bought Akram an iPad. Bought what? iPad, direct object, and who received the iPad? That is Akram. So dear student, we have to understand here. We can use indirect object also. Indirect objects or like are like human beings. So when we use direct, means when we use the objects in our sentence, if those objects are no living things, those are called direct object. If those objects are living things, so living beings, so those objects are called indirect objects. Suppose I say that I sent him a letter, or we can say the sentence in this way also. I sent a letter to him. Okay, I subject, sent verb. Letter to him. Letter is over object and him is also object. But you can see that letter is non-living thing. So letter is direct object and him, that is living thing. So living person means, so that is indirect object. So simply we can answer, if you put the question with what answer comes, that is direct object. If you put the question to whom, and what answer comes, that is indirect object. And second way to understand this is that living beings are, sorry, the indirect objects and non-living things are direct objects. Now please come on the next page. You can read this example also. Dr. Singh taught us science. So Dr. Singh taught us science. Us and science, these are objects. Us, that is indirect object. Why? Because that is living beings, means like human beings we are talking about, and science is the direct object because that is not human beings. Okay, and put the question with what? Dr. Singh taught us science. Dr. Singh हमें डॉक्टर सिंह ने हमें साइंस पढ़ाई. डॉक्टर सिंह ने हमें क्या पढ़ाया? व्हाट डिड डॉक्टर सिंह टीच? So answer we get science, so that is direct object. And if you put the question with whom, डॉक्टर सिंह ने किसको पढ़ाया? Whom did Dr. Singh teach? So answer we get us. So us is indirect object and science is direct object. Now let's talk about auxiliary verb and main verbs. What are the auxiliary verbs and what are the main verbs? Verbs are either main verbs or auxiliary verbs. There are 14 auxiliary verbs like be, will, can, may, shall, ought to, must, have, would, could, might, should, used to, do. So, dear student, what are the modal helping verbs? What are the helping verbs we use in the tenses? Those, all the helping verbs and modal helping verbs are called auxiliary verbs. All other verbs are main verbs. Apart from them, like rest of verbs are called main verbs. Auxiliary verbs are used with main verbs to form tenses, passive forms. We use auxiliary verbs to form tenses and passive form. Passive voice sentences we make, and we make these sentences and the tense and passive voice sentences with the help of auxiliary verb. So here, next point that's written: be, have, and do are primary auxiliary verb. Primary auxiliary verb means like these helping verbs, auxiliary verbs we use in tenses. Be form means is, am, are, was, were, and have form has, have, had. Do form do, does, did are primary auxiliary verbs. They are special because they can be used both as an auxiliary verb and as a main verb. So be form, have form, do form as a main verb also we can use, as a helping also we can use. Suppose I say that, have you done your work? Have you done your work? So done means that's the third form of do. So do we have used here as a main verb, and sometimes we also say, do you do your work? Do you do your work? So you can see that one first time do we have used as a auxiliary verb, means as a helping verb. Second time we have used do as a main verb. Do you do your work? Okay. Next, E point, modals. So all auxiliary verbs with the exceptions of be, have, do are called modal auxiliaries or simple modals. Modals are used to express ideas like possibilities, ability, permission, obligation, suggestion, etc. Modals have only one form. They are never used alone except in question tag. So dear students, apart from do, be, or have, rest of verbs are called modal auxiliary verbs, or we can simply say that modals. Okay, so by this some modal we express possibility, ability, permission, obligation, suggestion. These are all the things we express by the help of modals. Second thing we need to understand that we can't use modal alone, means come what may, we have to use main verb with the modals. Okay, just in question tags we can use alone modals, alone any modal, but apart from question tag we can't use modal helping verbs without any main verb. So convert may, main verb we have to put with the modal helping verbs. Next point, F point, finite and non-finite verbs. So the ing form of verb singing, praising, dancing, and to form the verb like to sing, to praise, to dance are called non-finite. All other verbs forms are finite. To form are also called infinitive. Ing form may be either participle verb plus adjective from smiling babies, feeding flowers, and gerund verbs plus noun form feeding in nature. So dear student, here we have to understand very important point, that is finite verb and non-finite verb. So first of all, let's understand what are the finite verbs. Okay, then we will come on the non-finite verbs. Okay, so which verb is affected, which verb is affected by any subject, by the number of subject, by the gender of subject, or by the tense of the sentence. Which verb is affected by the number of the subject, or by the person or gender, or even by the tense of the sentence. If verb is changed, if verb is affected, that verb is called finite verb. Rest of verbs are called non-finite verbs. I try to make you understand with some examples. Suppose I say that I want to drink water. I want to drink water. So we know that I have used in the subject, and want is verb, and drink also, that's a verb. So if I say that he wants to drink water, he wants to drink water. So you can see that in first sentence I used I want to drink water. In second sentence I have used he wants to drink water. I changed the subject of sentence. In first sentence, I used I, that's the first person. In second sentence, I used he, that's the third person singular. So subject I changed and verb was changed. In first sentence, I said I won't. In second sentence, I said I won't. W-A-N-T-S. But if I change the tense, I wanted to drink water. So you will notice that won't verb has been changed in those three sentences, but drink verb did not change. So which verb is affected or changed due to change of subject, number of subject, and personal subject, or tense of sentence? So that verb is called finite, and rest of verbs, which means which are not changed, those verbs are called non-finite. Okay, suppose I say that I am going to play cricket. And if I say that I was going to play cricket, so I am going and was going. So both these verbs changed. So these verbs are called finite verb. But to play cricket, that verbs did not change. So that is non-finite verb. Okay. Non-finite verb further divided into some parts. One is called gerund. Gerund is that when we use ing form, when we use ing form as a name. Gerund is that when we use ing form as a name. So that verb form is called gerund. Suppose I say that I like playing. Suppose I say that I like uh, cricket. I like cricket. So cricket is noun. If I say that I like playing, so playing verb is verb. We know that P-L-A-Y-I-N-G. But here I have used playing verb as a noun. So when ing form we use as a noun, so that is called gerund. Okay, suppose I say that my mother likes cooking. So cooking, we know that cook is verb and it's ing form. But now here we have used cooking word as a noun. So whenever we use ing form as a noun, that is called gerund. Okay, but sometimes it happens ing form we also use as an adjective. Suppose I say that it is a singing doll. It is a singing doll, or we can say it is a dancing doll. Okay, so dancing word we know that here we have used as an adjective, because this dancing and singing is describing the quality of that doll. Okay, so sometime ing form we use as an adjective, so that time that ing form is called non-finite verb. Okay. Okay, now please come on the G part. G part of a verb. G parts of a verb are present tense, first form, past tense second form, past participle third form. So dear student, we know that there are three forms of any verb, like first form, second form, third form, like go, went, gone, right? So first form is called, basically that is called present tense, present form or present tense form. We second form we say that past form or past tense form. Third form we can say that past participle form. Okay, present form, past form, or third form we say that past participle form. Like go, went, gone. Go is present, went is past form, and gone is past participle form. Come on the next part, next page. So strong and weak verbs. So dear students, here we have to understand what are the strong verbs and what are the weak verbs. Weak verbs form their past tense by adding ed, d, t to the present. So dear students, whenever we add ed or d or t to make second and third form, so those type of verbs are called weak forms. Okay, like laugh, laughed. Second form is laughed. I have added only ed. Received, received. I have added only d. Learn, learned. I have added only t. So these verbs are called weak verbs. Why? Because we have to add only ed or d or t. Now let's talk about strong. Strong verbs are form their past tense by changing in inside vowels or their present tense. Like come, came, know, knew, speak, spoke. So dear students, whenever we have to change inside vowels of any verb to make second and third form, so those verbs are called strong form. Like come, second form is came. So know, knew, spoke. So speak, spoke. So these are called strong verbs. Observe how the past tense of the flowing ends verbs is formed. And some verbs are there we have to do completely change in that in those verbs, like by, both. You can see in by three letters are there, but in second form six letters are there, b-o-u-g-s-t. Catch, caught, tell, told. So completely we have to change the verb in second and third form. We notice that in these verbs the single vowels has been changed to the form the tense, but beside a changed vowel, they also required final D and T. Such verbs are called weak verbs. Same thing I have told you. There is a very simple way of telling whether a particular verb is weak or strong. If the past tense of the verb, there is a present a final D or ET that is not in the present tense is a weak form. Simple formula, that is when we have to add d or t or ed to make second and third form, those verbs are called weak verbs and rest of verbs are called strong verbs. So dear students, these verbs you have to learn, right? So these are the strong verbs like arise, arose, arisen. Arise means utna, awake, awaken, awaked, awaked, awoke, awoken also. Jagna, bear, born, सहन करना या जन्म देना. Beat, beat, beaten, किसी को पीटना. Become, became, become. बनना, begin, began, begun. शुरू करना, bid, bade, bid, bidden, bid, बोली लगाना. Bind, bound, bound, बांधना. Bite, bit, beaten, blow, blew, blown, break, broke, broken. Choose, chose, chosen, cling, clung, clung, come, came, come, dig, dug, do, did, done. So these all the verbs, dear students, you have to learn, okay? Because these verbs are very important and we use these verbs in our spoken English and along with this in our written English too. So these verbs are quite important. So you should learn these verbs, okay? Please come on the next page. All the verbs you have to learn. Same here also, verbs are written here. Some weak verbs also are written here, like bent, 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 morna, bring, brought, lana, built, banana, burnt, or burn it, jalana, buy, bought, खरीदना, catch, caught, pakadna. So these all the verbs, dear students, you have to learn. Okay. Come on the next page. So K point, please come on the K point. So let's read the question. The flowing verbs have the three forms: present, past, and past participle alike. So dear students, some verbs are there in English language. Their second and third form are the same, like bet, 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 shat lagana, bid, 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 cast, 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 pekna, coast, coast, coast. Means that all the forms are same. Okay, so you need to learn these forms also. Now some troublesome verbs. Some troublesome means कम कुछ verbs परेशान करने वाली है. Like you need to understand those verbs. First is born, born. Beer has the flowing forms. So one word is there in English language that is called beer, B-E-A-R. So beer word is having two meanings. One is to give birth, यानी कि जन्म देना. Second is to carry, यानी कि ले जाना. So when we talk about to give birth, in that form, beer, born, B-O-R-E, born, B-O-R-N, right? When we talk about to carry, beer, born, B-O-R-N-E. So you need to see that for which meaning we have used these verbs. According to that we have to use the verbs. Like Karan was born in 2001. The Almira was so heavy that it could be borne with great difficulty. So we know that, like here we have used for to give birth, and here we have used this born word to carry. Second, hung and hanged. Hang has the flowing forms: to suspend, to put to the death by tying a rope around the neck. यानी कोई चीज लटकाना, to suspend, कोई चीज लटकाना. And second hang meaning is फांसी देना, गले में रस्सी बांधकर किसी को फांसी देना. So when we talk about to suspend, hang, hung, hung. When we talk about to kill someone by putting the rope in his neck, so that is called hang, hanged, hanged. So basically, dear student, you need to see that for which meaning that word has been used. Okay, the criminal has hanged. So here we have used this hanged. Why? Because we are talking about to put to the death by tying a rope around the neck. Next, she hung the gown in the wardrobe. They hung the picture on the wall. So here hung word we have used for hanging, suspend, and here we have used to kill. Okay, that's why their verbs are changed. Now please come on the third point. So dear student, I think rest of things we should discuss in next class.